Welcome to perhaps the worst room in the Dr. Light trial, room 22. In order to get through here, I would advise just using pile driver at this first spiky area here, and, well, the next spiky area on the way to the teleport. But otherwise, just kind of follow along here. Like, if you just kind of bounce along the bouncy balls in a way that... Like, the lay of the level design here kind of guides you to do it properly. It's just not immediately obvious at first. But I would say just use pile driver if you're looking for the survival skills trophy. But it is possible without pile driver, it's just really sketchy. Speaking of sketchy, this room gives me more trouble than it really should. I would advise just using either a powered up block, a powered up tundra, or a powered up flame attack here. Make quick work of these guys. Whichever one of those three you don't need to get through any of the other rooms. Just save yourself the headache. And then here, if you use a powered up acid charge, acid barrier, you can get through here without too much trouble. Otherwise, just kind of slowly take your time. You can shoot these rabbit guys, you don't even have to jump. And so long as you position these birds in such a way that they drop their ice blocks into the heat, you don't really have to worry about them hitting you so much. So yeah, just either take your time or powered up acid barrier. You need to make sure it's a powered up barrier. I made that mistake when I was first playing Mega Man. Mega Man 11, the acid barrier is so much better when it's powered up. No comparison. Now this part actually isn't too bad. If you want to just use the buster, make sure to shoot the bouncy balls in the eyes so they go straight back. Otherwise, if you're about to die here, I would advise using either a charged up block, tundra, or flame, similar to the pylon enemies. Because if you're careful and you take your time, you won't get too much damage here, but they will whittle you down. And if it means that getting through this part more quickly means that you can take another hit with Wily, then, well, that's crucial. So, whatever you need to do to get through this part as safely as possible. And there we have it. Okay, so for this room, if you have a pile driver left, feel free to use it on this stew pot. Otherwise, just abuse the speed gear like I'm about to here. This room looks like it can be a little complicated, but you don't even need the speed gear. I just like to use the speed gear. That way we don't have to be quite as precise to get through. And here, if you slide through quickly enough and or use the speed gear, you don't have to get held up by the lasers. Just taking my time here, because the goal right now is to just beat the Dr. Light trial, not to get a world record in it or anything. Just take your time. You can take quick jumps, but you don't have to. Now here, you can take out this lantern firebird with either your own flame or volt. Might not be a bad idea, but if you jump in a certain pattern, he won't try to drop flames directly on your head, but sometimes he will. So if you don't want to risk it, then just take him out and take your time here. Then after this jump here, just keep with the speed gear, and if you walk into the falling rocks until they're clear out of the way, it'll position you perfectly to make the next jump. Observe. You see what I did there? Do that, you'll make the jump every time. Now for this last room before Wily, you can get through here with a powered up acid. It'll actually extinguish any of those welding spots these little robots leave here. So just go along here, just use the buster if you want, and just be careful about your jumps. And we're not quite there yet, but when you take on Wily, I would advise switching to a powered up blast shot. It'll make short work of the first half of Wily's first form. But I generally just do it with the buster anyway. He does the same patterns every time. If you just take your time, shoot him in his red eye protection. You can take him out after about a full cycle of his attack pattern here. and use the speed gear when you need to. The missiles coming not vertically, horizontally, that we're jumping on, they only do 2 damage apiece. They're big missiles, so you would think they do more damage than that, but they're not that dangerous, so if you have to choose between getting hit by Wily or a missile, just get hit by the missile. Now, with this part, if you use a charged up acid shot and shoot at the gears, it will knock Wily down to the ground, and then you can just use the speed gear and shoot Wily a whole bunch with the powered up acid. Otherwise, he has 2 different patterns of missiles. One, you can only shoot him the once. The other one, you can shoot him twice. But for the second jump, you have to shoot him at the apex of your jump, like right here. There we go. This will be Wily's first form. So, his last form, he is weak to powered up acid or use Volt, or powered up Volt for that matter. But a tip for you that maybe you didn't consider is if you use a powered up acid barrier, once you power it up, if you then use the speed gear, you can have a powered up acid barrier, but then have time be slow as well. Because once the barrier is powered up, you don't need to keep the power gear on. So you can actually utilize both gear with the acid barrier, which is quite helpful if you get the timing just right. Otherwise, for Wily with the Buster, just use the gears as necessary, stay back. This speed gear attack that Wily does, I hate it, I always get hit. But if you don't use the speed gear, he does shoot the gears at the same time every time. If you use the audio cue, you'll at least know when he's shooting, which will make it a little easier. But if you don't have any speed gear, you're gonna have a rough go there. But Wily is possible. It is possible to beat Wily without using the speed gear. You can beat the entire game without using any of the gears on any of the modes. Even this final part here, you don't need to use the gear if you time it correctly. But we're going to, just in the interest of time, and in the interest of getting you the coveted Survival Skills trophy. If you've gotten it, give yourself a pat on the back. As of this recording, fewer than 1% of Mega Man 11 players have it. Fewer than 1 in 100. So thank you for joining for this tutorial. If you'd like any other Mega Man 11 tutorials, just let me know. Have a good one, folks.